Hey folks, Dune is complicated, especially when you've got all 6 factions in the game changing the rules in some way or another. Now what this game really needs is a dedicated reference sheet, reference material, some sort of page that reminds you of the most common rules. But what they give you is this. This is not helpful. So that's when you got to turn to Board Game Geek. And I've done that for you so you don't have to. So here are 5 of my favorite reference materials, add-ons, supplementals that you can print out at home and use in your game so that you don't have to run to the rulebook every 10 minutes. So let's get started. Yes, we have that card that tells you the names of the faces, but what's going to be really useful is something that actually tells you what they do. Now, there are a lot of these comprehensive player aids on Board Game Geek. I picked this one by Heyman31891 because of its brevity. I like that it shows all of the most useful information about each different phase, with each faction's exception, all on 2 sides of a half sheet of paper, meaning you can print it double-sided and then cut it in half and you've got 2 copies to share. Hey man, good job. So the next 4 player aids are from the same person, BGG user Zalman, who just happens to be a Patreon backer of RTFM, and whose comment on a recent post gave me the idea of making this video. So thank you so much for the idea, thank you for backing the channel, and thank you so much for making these excellent player aids. Now let's start off with something simple. This is a card telling you where the Fremen start off and where they can ship to. It's just a nice visual representation of something that you would otherwise have to map out on your own. And if I had had this card handy when I was filming my tutorial, I wouldn't have made the mistake of putting the Fremen in the wrong place, like an idiot. Let's move on to number 3. On the same page, you're going to find what I think is the most useful player aid for people who are learning the advanced rules. For me anyway, the hardest thing to learn was advanced combat, and Zalman has provided a card with a simple reminder of how that works, but also uses a variant to make the math involved a lot less difficult to wrap your head around. It's a little funky at first, but it's effectively the same rules, just presented in a different way, and for my money, it makes it so much easier to grasp. Next up is something that I definitely struggle with, not having particularly large hands, and that is holding the spice tokens along with everything else when revealing the battle plan. To that end, we've got these lovely looking spice cards, which just make everything easier to hold and play. This is not going to be terribly important for some, but it is very helpful for me. Last up, there's a great reference sheet that provides some handy reminders on 4 basic topics. Treachery cards, including how many of each type of card there are, quick description on what they do, and a description of each faction's special Karama ability, which should have been somewhere in the game besides in the rulebook, but whatever. There is an in-depth description on how the Karama cancel ability works. There's a full breakdown of the battle phase, including how each faction alters it, and a cheat sheet for each faction's leaders. All in all, just a very handy player aid. So those are my top 5 printable Dune player aids. Now, you're probably not going to need all of these, but I bet most people are going to find some benefit from at least one of them. For my money, that advanced combat card probably gets the most bang for your buck, but I'd love to know which one you find the most useful. Or if you know some great player aids that I didn't talk about, let me know about them in the comments below. See you next time.